All right, picture this. It's the spring of 1650. Oliver Cromwell's new model army, and I mean, this is arguably the most feared military machine in all of Europe, has been just tearing a bloody path across Ireland. Town after town has fallen. Their momentum, it seems, completely, totally unstoppable.
But then, on the banks of the River Suir, this invincible force, it just slams into a wall of pure defiance. It ran into a little town called Clonmel, a place that was about to hand Oliver Cromwell one of the absolute worst days of his entire military career.
You know, on paper, this should have been a walk in the park for Cromwell. A short, brutal affair. It's your classic David versus Goliath setup, with the odds just overwhelmingly, ridiculously stacked against the defenders.
I mean, the difference here is just staggering. Cromwell rolls up with around 8,000 soldiers. And remember, this is the new model army. These guys are battle-hardened, they're well-supplied, and they're riding a massive winning streak. Inside the walls, what do they have? Just 1,500 men. They were outnumbered more than 5-1. It looked hopeless.
Okay, so we need to clear up a really common historical mix-up right here. The commander at Clonmel, the mastermind, wasn't the legendary Owen Roe O'Neill. He'd actually died months earlier. No, the man who engineered this incredible defense was his nephew, Hugh Dubh O'Neill, a brilliant, battle-tested commander leading a garrison of incredibly tough Ulster soldiers.
So the big question is, how do you defend a town when you're outnumbered 5-1? Well, you don't just defend the wall. You get creative. You turn the wall itself into a weapon, and you build one of the most ingenious traps in military history.
The key to O'Neill's whole strategy was something called a couper. It's a French word that just means a cut. But the idea behind it is simple and absolutely deadly. You actually let the enemy smash a hole in your main wall. You let them think they've won, and then you spring the trap you've built waiting for them on the other side.
And here is exactly how it worked. First, Cromwell's cannons blast a huge hole in the town wall. His elite soldiers, they charge the breach, totally expecting an easy victory. But instead of an open town, they are funneled into this narrow, V-shaped lane. It's a killing field. All of a sudden, they're trapped. They're getting hit from 3 sides by musketeers, pikemen, and even cannons loaded with this horrific stuff called chain shot. They can't move forward, they can't retreat. They are just being shredded. The result was a slaughter, an absolute slaughter. In just one horrific assault, Cromwell's unstoppable army might have lost up to 2,000 men. 2,000! This was the single greatest loss of life the new model army would face in the entire Irish campaign. And what makes this so much more intense is that Cromwell himself was right there. He was watching this whole thing happen, waiting with a reserve force to pour through the breach and finish the job. He personally witnessed the entire disaster, watching his best soldiers get thrown back in bloody chaos until he finally had to call off the attack as darkness fell.
So the defenders of Clonmel had done the impossible. They had stopped the new model army cold. But this is where the story takes a really dramatic and kind of tragic turn as night settles over the battlefield. Let's be perfectly clear about this. Clonmel had won the battle. It was a stunning tactical victory. The Irish garrison did what nobody thought was possible. They broke the assault, inflicted devastating losses, and completely humiliated the most feared army of the age. But then reality hits. That incredible victory came at a price they just couldn't afford. They had used up almost all of their gunpowder and ammunition. Their powder horns were empty. They knew another attack was coming in the morning, and they knew they had no way to stop it.
So here's what happened next, and it's brilliant. Under the cover of darkness, Hugh Dubh O'Neill and his surviving soldiers just silently slip out of town and escape towards Waterford. The next morning, Clonmel's mayor, who has no clue the army is gone, goes to negotiate a surrender with Cromwell, and he gets a great deal, securing the lives and property of the townspeople. Cromwell agrees, still thinking a fighting garrison is inside. It's only after the agreement is signed that he walks into town and realizes he's been completely duped.
You know, there's this poignant local legend that just captures the sheer desperation of the defenders. It said that one of the very last shots fired from the town was a silver bullet. Now, whether that's literally true or not, it symbolizes the grim reality. They had absolutely nothing left to fight with.
This whole incredible story of victory at escape leaves us with this haunting legacy. It forces us to ask one of the great what-ifs of Irish history.
Seriously, what if? What if O'Neill's garrison had just enough ammunition to hold out for a few more days? Could this stunning tactical victory have become something more? Could it have been a strategic turning point in the whole war?
But the harsh reality is, probably not. This victory, as brilliant as it was, kind of happened in a vacuum. Their supplies weren't just low, they were gone. There was no relief army on its way to save them. In fact, just a few weeks later, another major Irish army was destroyed at the Battle of Scarra-Folis. The bigger war effort was fragmented. It just lacked any real coordination.
And that really is the ultimate lesson of Clonmel. Courage and brilliant tactics, they can absolutely win you a battle. But logistics, powder, food, and a unified strategy, that's what wins you a war. Clonmel had all the bravery in the world, but it just ran out of everything else.
And that's the story we're left with. A moment of impossible triumph snatched away by the simple, brutal fact of an empty powder horn. The siege of Clonmel is a miracle, undone by scarcity. A future that almost changed, but instead just slipped away quietly in the night on the road to Waterford.